Charles Nelson Reilly didn't ignore their advice that queers shouldn't be on TV. He sought revenge after being banned from 3 major networks by appearing on 27 game shows in a week. But his unexpected comeback wasn't the craziest part. Behind those enormous glasses and outrageous costumes was a scandalous life that Johnny Carson cut him off forever. What got him blacklisted and the X-rated reality Hollywood kept for 50 years are revealed today. Charles Nelson Reilly was born in the Bronx in 1931 to a unique family. His father painted Paramount Pictures commercials, while his mother was noisy, proud, and carried a baseball bat, shouting outside the window. Home life was noisy, chaotic, and nasty. The breakdown of his father made things worse. He became alcoholic, lost his job, and entered a mental facility. Family recovery was never complete. Then Charles and his mother moved to Hartford, Connecticut. They shared a cold, crowded flat with 10 relatives without hot water. Young Charles lived a hard, unusual life and felt like an outcast practically everywhere. He used puppets to escape. Charles performed puppet plays with his mother's sewing kit scraps while other youngsters played sports. He was a sick, imaginative, quiet, nearsighted child. He didn't fit in with the boys. They mocked him, called him Mary, and made sure he knew he wasn't one of them. Charles came alive on stage, even a makeshift one in a tiny flat. He voiced characters and constructed worlds. I was 9 when a teacher cast me as Christopher Columbus in a school play. She told his mother, "He's the only real actor I've seen." That was the first time his talent was recognized. But then the fire. Charles and a companion saw Ringling Brothers in 1944. Just fun-seeking kids. They found horror. The tent side caught fire as the acrobats swooped above. The large top, covered with gasoline and wax to keep out rain, became a torch. People panicked, screaming, running, and stomping. Charles and his companion nearly survived jumping from the bleachers. Over 160 people, mostly youngsters, died. Charles remembered the charred faces he saw that day. After that, he avoided audiences. The throng was too much for him again, but he didn't leave the stage. He remained behind it. Despite never seeing others perform, he turned anxiety into fuel and kept going. He wanted to sing opera initially. It was his exit. He studied voice at Hartford's Hart School of Music and gave it his all. Dreams don't always come true. After years of training, he faced reality. His voice was too weak for professional work. It crushed, but didn't stop him. Instead of resigning, he changed direction. He realized he could perform without singing. His new emphasis was acting. It stung to give up opera, but it led to something bigger. He left his modest life for New York City aged 18. Uta Hagen and other HB studio icons taught him acting. Later actors Jack Lemmon, Gene Hackman, and Jason Robards studied with him. Though he joked that none of them could act for shit, he was serious about the business. He chased Broadway lights, but found cold, hungry, and merciless reality. He paid $7 a week for a cramped room without hot water, delivering Waldorf Astoria mail at night. He saw the rich enjoy lives he couldn't touch. Audition days were expensive, so he sold his blood to pay for the train. He repeated it so repeatedly that he fainted mid-stride, exhausted by the fantasy he refused to give up. When given the choice between food and an audition, he always chose the latter. Yet he remained funny. Even when he was broke and hurting, he had that piercing wit that would light up television. Just as he thought he would finally get a break, he was rejected, which could have ended everything. He had a huge audition with a top NBC executive, borrowed a burial costume to look the part, and ascended Rockefeller Center to the summit with hope. However, when he entered, the man remarked plainly, "They don't permit queers on TV." The end. No retry, no response, just a door closing. In the 1950s, rejection wrecked careers and nearly destroyed Reilly. he determined to never hide his identity. Reilly refused to act like other stars who established phony lifestyles to fit in. He gained more than approval from that insult. He got fire. He persisted. Cracks appeared in the wall that kept him out. His first film job was a minor, uncredited role in A Face in the Crowd in 1957. Though small, it was something. Missouri summers spent doing comedy helped him hone his timing and stage presence. The 1960 film Bye Bye Birdie followed. His role was tiny, yet he understudied Dick Van Dyke. He approached. Show was new. Rock and roll fueled loudness, a parody of Elvis mania. After 600 performances, it was a hit. Reilly saw it as more than work. First serious shot, he seized it with both hands. The true spotlight came a year later. Reilly played Bud Frump in How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying in 1961. The person was sluggish, arrogant, and unworthy. Reilly made him memorable. The show burst, winning 7 Tonys and a Pulitzer. Reilly's Tony win changed everything. He was now a Broadway star, not simply existing. He kept going. He played Cornelius Hackle in Hello, Dolly, a Broadway classic, in 1964. Reilly, who played a young clerk seeking romance and adventure, appeared opposite Carol Channing. The show broke records, won 10 Tonys, and ran for over 7 years. After receiving another Tony nomination, Reilly's stage persona was engaging, witty, eccentric, and full of heart. The following year, he experimented. Reilly and Julie Harris appeared in play-based musical Skyscraper. It wasn't as successful as his earlier work, but it started a strong partnership between the two performers. Although critics didn't appreciate the show, Reilly's energy was undeniable. He pushed every scene to its limits, pulling laughs from nowhere and retaining the audience's attention like no one else. Charles Nelson. Reilly's 1968 life altered forever. After years of struggling in show business, he obtained a job that made him famous. He played Claymore Gregg in The Ghost and Mrs. Muir, a sitcom about a widow moving into a haunted cottage. Played the cowardly landlord who rents her the house without telling her it's haunted. His ghost phobia became a running joke. Not simply the comedy made it special. Reilly finally had a regular TV role and was appreciated. His performance was memorable despite the short show. That role earned him enough visibility to be considered seriously in Hollywood. Charles came to California for the show's filming and fell in love. It was pleasant, the people were friendly, and the ambiance was different from New York. His joke was that he was cold his whole life till California. There was more than physical change, very emotional. He stated in interviews that LA was different from New York, where actors continuously tried to prove themselves. But Hollywood allowed him to breathe. He made friends, joked between takes, and felt part of something bigger. Even small things, like elevator exits taking a second or the airport being quiet, interested him. He found this new existence homey. Late-night TV became his new partner after his move. Charles was a remarkable guest on Johnny Carson's Tonight Show, the largest stage in town. Johnny Carson and Charles Nelson Reilly had a rare, real chemistry that lit up the screen every time Reilly entered The Tonight Show. He was a regular, a recognizable face, and a soothing presence to the audience. Reilly appeared approximately 100 times in the late 1960s and early 1980s. His numbers ranged from 103 to 105. Truth wasn't important. The fun they had together mattered. Johnny repeatedly inquired about Reilly's mother, making it an audience inside joke. They didn't practice their conversations. It felt like two old friends catching up as they rambled and giggled. Carson allowed Reilly to be himself when being gay on TV was still taboo. Reilly's constant readiness made their relationship more fascinating. He kept a tuxedo on hand and resided minutes from the studio. If a guest canceled last minute, Carson didn't worry. He called Charles. Reilly remarked the TV guide didn't list him since he only appeared when others couldn't. A deeper meaning lay behind that humor. Carson trusted. No script, no issue. Reilly may walk in and steal the show. That chemistry is rare, and fans liked it. Sometimes he showed up unexpectedly, but it was always a highlight. People thought they had Reilly, a humorous, over-the-top game show host, figured out, but he surprised them. One night, a guest shocked the studio by dismissing his Shakespeare thoughts. He requested chords from Doc Severinsen and then sang Hamlet's The Play's the Thing with authority. Pure skill, no camp or comedy. The crowd hushed. Not just a clown in a loud outfit. Classically educated actor with tremendous chops. That moment never aired again. The tape was erased but stayed with him. Years later, he replicated it in his one-man act, showing everyone his hidden depths. Their bond ended abruptly, despite its strength. Appeared on Joan Rivers' new chat program one night. He saw it as another gig. Although Joan was a friend, Carson felt it as treachery. Formerly his student, Rivers. He took offense when she started her own show without telling him. When Reilly appeared on her show, cut him off. Permanent. Just like that. Nearly 2 decades of appearances ended. No calls, explanations, nothing. Reilly said Carson never again contacted him. He never denigrated him. Reilly considered it business. He continued smiling, recounting stories, and praising the man who made him a late-night TV celebrity. Charles began appearing on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, a unique TV show, around this time. Fast, crazy, and full of political humor and hallucinogenic adrenaline. Charles fit right in. His loud voice, wild mannerisms, and erratic nature fit the mayhem. He didn't need script. Simply being himself works. Charles appeared everywhere as millions watched. Now he wasn't the fearful landlord. His TV persona was complete. He remarked in one interview that he had too many offers. It was true. He appeared on Arnie, Dean Martin, and other shows as a guest. But nothing was as odd or memorable as Lidsville. Charles played Horatio J. Hoodoo, an evil magician in a world where hats were alive, in 1971, one of his oddest performances. Yes, hats. Charles embraced the fever dream show. He dressed in layers of wool, painted his face green, and acted like the campiest villain he could conceive. He insisted on being called Great Hoodoo. Working conditions were awful. It was hard to breathe in makeup. The script was a shambles, and his youthful co-star Butch Patrick detested it. Charles was always consistent. He gave his all to that show. Lidsville ended after 17 episodes, but became a cult favorite. For the kids who watched, Charles was unforgettable. From 1973 to 1979, he lighted up Match Game. Every time you watched, he was there. He had big glasses, bright clothes, a smoke, and a wacky sense of humor. Not just a character, the character was him. He made the top right panel seat his throne. He immediately connected with Brett Somers, and when Richard Dawson joined them, a Comic 3 was established. They were more than humorous. The show was theirs. Charles once appeared on 27 game shows per week. Not just work, it was revenge. Revenge on everybody who said he wouldn't succeed. Uncle Croc's Block followed. It was odd, bold, and unlike any children's entertainment. Reilly played a cranky crocodile who clearly loathed hosting kids' shows. The show was openly bitter. It blended live action and animation and parodied popular shows. They impersonated Captain Clangaroo and Steve Exhaustion. However, viewers were confused. Ratings plummeted, and it was canceled within months. This infuriated ABC's president, who broke all relations with the production business. Reilly seemed unfazed. Why? TV transformed his life. He discovered he could make more in 2 Dean Martin guest appearances than a year on Broadway. Realization hit hard. In California, he bought a Beverly Hills mansion and a huge boat. He stopped freezing in New York. He basked in the sun. Once joked that he was cold his whole life before moving to LA. By 1975, he was everywhere. He had game shows, guests, and comedy hours. NBC executives told me they don't put queers on TV. Every laugh, paycheck, every episode was a middle finger to the system. After years of performing and studying with Herbert Berghoff and Uta Hagen, Reilly felt a deeper draw toward directing. Not a sudden leap. His cautious, steady progress made sense to those who knew him. He constantly observed the minutiae that brought a scene to life, still performing, such in God's Favorite, in the mid-1970s. He was already thinking like a director, focusing on others and the big picture. Director of The Belle of Amherst, a one-woman show on Emily Dickinson featuring his friend Julie Harris that year. The hazardous undertaking had one actress playing 15 personalities and telling Dickinson's life narrative in her own words. Reilly led a spectacular event. Harris brought the poet's universe to life, shocking critics and audiences. The show was a hit and a moment. Harris received a Tony, Grammy, and national tour. Reilly saw more than success. It showed his ability to write strong theater. It demonstrated his ability to evoke emotion from silence and guide actors into new territory. The 1979 film Break a Leg followed. His luck ran out this time. After Death Trap's success, Ira Levin wrote the play. High expectations were dashed on opening night. The show terminated after one performance due to poor audience response.